What's up, fantasy fans? As always, I'm Shay from the channel Zachary Shay, and today I want to give you a breakdown of my top 10 series that I've read this year. Now, this doesn't mean I completed and started. I started and completed these 10 series all within 2025. That would be crazy. If I have read an entry from this series, not including a reread, or if I have started this series, if I have read an entry in this series at some point in 2025, it could be an ongoing series, it could be a completed series, as long as it's not a reread, then that justifies it being on the list. I couldn't narrow it down to like just 10 books I've read this year, so I'm going with 10 series. And first, before I get to number 10, I want to go over an honorable mention. And this book should be coming out shortly if it hasn't already, depending on when I drop this video. And that book is Mercy, Tears of the Fallen by Chance Dillon. In the darkness of the night, when the sky turns over and you are nothing but alone, within you is the light that will shine most fiercely. The gods are at war with us again, and you refuse to choose the side of your people. Keep your tear. Perhaps you will be our guide to the other side. The light that will engulf the shadow in the presence of itself, illuminating its death to the world. So Mercy, I gave it a 4.5 stars, and I stand by that review. It's got a lot of strength, a lot of ambition here. It's got some inherent flaws I'm hoping to see Chance iron out in book 2. I'm beta reading it, and I am very excited. He's got a lot of great things going on here, and I am hoping that he can, deliver in this second book and we can get a 5-star read. And that's why I'm putting an honorable mention. A lot of these are series I've continued for a while. Some of the authors are a little bit more experienced in their craft, but I just wanted to shout out my friend Chance because this was really close to being on the list because I did enjoy this book a ton. But yeah, so that's the honorable mention. All right. So coming in at number 10 is a series that I put a good dent in last year, and I enjoy the series a ton, and I really love the main character from this series. He is one of my all-time favorite fantasy characters, but the reason it's at this number 10 spot is because there's some inherent flaws here. I know people talk about it all the time when they talk about this book, but there is some slight sexism that comes through on the page that I don't think it's all like, oh, well, that's just how Harry Dresden is. That's kind of a cop-out that's used. But even when we get other character perspectives, like in the short story collections, even when it's female perspectives, some of that sexism is a little bit pervasive. I don't think it's intentional, and I really enjoy the author's work, and I'm talking about The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. My name is Harry Blackstone Copperfield Dresden. Conjure by it at your own risk. When things get strange, when what goes bump in the night flicks on the lights, when no one else can help you, give me a call. I'm in the book. So this series, most of you, if not all of you, have already heard of this series. It's got it all. It's got a dorky, lovable, badass wizard. It's got a cool vampire. It's got an awesome system of fae, the summer court, the winter court. So I read Ghost Story, and I'm currently on Cold Days. And I liked Ghost Story a lot, actually. I know it's not the fan favorite, but I liked it a ton. Cold Days, there was a reference to some stuff that happened at the end of this one where it goes into like some of the weird sexual stuff in Dresden that I think comes very much like a man writing about sexual stuff. Like it's kind of bad. It's pretty bad. This is somebody who loves Dresden Files. I will read all the books, but it was bad enough to where it lost at the number 9 spot. And the number 9 spot was claimed by Dungeon Crawler Carl.
An hour and a half earlier, I'd been certain I was about to die. And now I was aboard some sort of yacht from another planet, ready to be interviewed on an intergalactic talk show.
Okay,
Donut said the moment Lexus left the room. She started to frantically clean herself.
let me do all the talking unless Odette asks a question directly of you. I just can't believe it. I'm so excited.
Just be careful, okay?
All right, much like in my review, I used Jeff Hayes' voice instead of my own voiceover because I'm not even going to try there. Jeff Hayes is the GOAT. And yeah, this series is truly exceptional. Carl is so likable. And I recently put out a review, or I will put out a review. I just batch filmed it. But yeah, this is one of my favorite books of the year. I look forward to reading Carl's Doomsday Scenario, but some of these series I want to get through a little bit before I dive into that one. But odds are I'll probably read it in the next month or two, if I can find time, especially because I've been listening to these on audio. And much like Dresden Files, much like Sun Eater, it's just one of those series where I've really grown attached to the narrator's voice for the characters. So I don't think I'll ever read any of these physical. It'll probably be a purely audio listen type series for me. So for my number 8, I want to talk about an author that I feel like has kind of fallen out of the booktube zeitgeist. I don't really see his books discussed as much as they used to be, and I'm talking about Michael J. Sullivan. I read his Drumendor book. This is the last book set in his world of Elan that has been published. It's part of the prequel series, The Rhaenyra Chronicles. I am officially turning him over to you. He's your problem now. You'll have to watch out for him, and it won't be easy. He's naive, gullible, immature, horribly unsophisticated, ignorant about anything worth knowing, and idealistic to a fault. He paused to make a show of thinking harder. He's also indecisive, pathetically honest, a horrible liar, and too virtuous for words. He gets up twice each night to relieve himself, wads his clothes rather than folds them, chews with his mouth open, and talks with his mouth full. He has a nasty habit of cracking his knuckles every morning at breakfast, and, of course, he snores. To remedy that, just put a rock under his blanket. I love Sullivan's writing. I think he does traditional fantasy better than damn near anybody. If you love Tolkien, if you love Hobb, I don't think his pen game is quite as strong as a Hobb, but it's up there. He has remarkable prose. They're on the simpler side, but they get the job done, and they're simple in that they're not an Erickson or a Wirtz, but they're not overly simplistic. Like, I love him, but Sanderson is a little overly simplistic. These prose, some of the phrases he uses, the way he can describe a scene is nothing short of beautiful. But this is a prequel book following Royce and Hadrian. It's always a joy following Royce and Hadrian, and this is actually one of the best of the Chronicles series. But I think, like most people that love his series, we're really excited for the cycle to come out. Now, if I'd gotten like book 1 in the cycle of Elan series, this would probably be like in the top 3. But because it was kind of like a side story type adventure following characters we know before, like it was a really fun, enjoyable series. Like it was a really fun, enjoyable read within the overarching Elan series. But it does take that little dip because, it's kind of side questy, even though it did tie in quite a few of the prequel narratives. And then next up, we have something that I thought was going to be an all-timer, and it turns out that it's more like top 20 all-timer, but not top 15 and not top 10. But I still really, really loved it, and that is The War Eternal by Rob J. Hayes. I choose to start my story in the pit. Down there, I was surrounded by monsters, some Terran and some not. Down there I made friendships to last a lifetime, and enemies who would last even longer. I was raised in the luxury of the Oran Academy of Magic, but I grew up in the squalor of the pit. Starting out, first 2 books, I thought that this was going to slam dunk on the First Earth Saga as far as my favorite Rob J. Hayes work. I've only read this in the First Earth Saga. As things stand now, I may put First Earth Saga over this, even though I think Askara Helsing is without a doubt one of my favorite characters from this year. My favorite new character I've read this year. Definitely, no, I know who that is. She's my number 2 favorite character from this year. And yeah, I thought books 1 and 2 were excellent. Book 3 was good, though it had faults. Book 4 felt like the biggest detour, and then book 5 was like a return to form in a way, but it being the final volume, I feel like you really need book 4 to be, on its A game leading up to book 5. But this is a really good series. Askara Helsing is a fantastic voice. It's not my number. What are we on? 10, 9, 8. It's not my number 7 of the year for nothing. I really loved it. I binged all 5 of these, so if it wasn't good, I wouldn't have binged them. Moira Quirk does amazing work on the audio. The prose are really, I keep mentioning prose as plural, they are really well done. The dialogue is exceptional. There's a few lines in there that fall a little flat, but it's nothing that pulls you out of the narrative. And I think I gave books 1 and 2 5 stars. I gave book 3 like a 4-star. I think I gave book 4 had probably one of the most captivating endings of the whole series, but the book as a whole was like a 3.5. And then book 5, I'd probably give like a 4.5 or a 5 stars. Book 1 and 2, I think, are the best. Book 2, especially, Lessons Never Learned, was phenomenal. Now we get to one of my favorite books of the year. My number 5 pick, I'm going to go with The Riven World Saga by M.L. Spencer. Think about all that the wind is and all that it does, where it goes, where it comes from. The wind knows everything, for it travels everywhere, and it's with us always. It endures, it feels, it speaks. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it rages. Give it a listen sometime, see what it tells you. So this would probably be higher if there were more books within the series, but there's only Dragon Mage. This book is exceptional. This book is so dang good. This is not a book you read about and you forget about. This book lives rent-free in my mind. It is, nothing against the name Dragon Mage. M.L. Spencer, she can name it whatever she wants. The idea of the book you get from just the words Dragon Mage is not accurate to what you're getting in the story. Like this is one for the ages. If she's able to follow up on the quality of book 1, I think that this could potentially be like an all-timer for me. If we get more in the series and they're still of the same caliber as book 1, could be an all-timer. I also audioed this one. Great narrator. The French accent nearly killed me. It was so bad. I'm sorry. I think he was a great narrator. French accent, awful. Awful's a bit harsh. Not awful, but the French accent did not work for me. And then my number 5? Yeah, my number 5 is going to be the Sundered Nation trilogy by Von Roycroft. Decimate. He nodded. Yes. You mean they kill them? Arias nodded again. She shuddered. They sound horrible. Well, that backfired. I see what you mean. They are a bit scary. When I was a boy, they terrified me, but I always admired them. All Danians do. We're glad they're on our side. You're not scared of them anymore? He shook his head. Especially not since I've gotten to know some of them. Arias watched her. Your mother was once a blade wielder, you know. Bryn's eyes widened, but she quickly veiled her reaction. That figures. She glanced his way. So my mother has killed people. He saw no way around it. Our enemies, yes. A lot? I suppose many people would say so. How many? I'm not sure, but in war, it's kill or be killed. Book 1, Severing Sun. Book 2, Bold Ascension. What this book series does really well is the deconstruction of the Chosen One and the deconstruction of the prophecies of what it means to be destined for greatness, of the weight of that greatness, the weight of that destiny. Book 3 being called Destiny's Doom. I can only imagine where that's going to go. But it's the weight of those expectations. It's the weight of self-imposed expectations. It does all of this so freaking well. I gave book 1 4.5 stars. I gave book 2 5 stars. I have some faults with it. Some of the relationship writing in book 1, I wasn't too hot on, but I've since come around and think I was a little harsh on that. Book 2, didn't love all the sex scenes, but I mean, that kind of tapers off towards the latter half, and it was never like breaking the book for me. I still thought that Valdan and Elon's arcs were spectacular. The relationship between Bryn and Arias is truly exceptional. I've got a soft spot for good like mentor-mentee relationships in my fantasy books, and this is one of the best ones I've read all year, if not the best one I've read all year. Let me think. Yeah, I'd probably say it's the best one I've read all year. Yeah, Arias and Bryn, truly great stuff there. All right, next up, and this one, man, one of these books is top 3 of the year, I think. Maybe top 5 or top 3, I don't know. But I'm talking about the Black Tongue Thief series. I do not need to be loved as deeply as I love, and I do not need to speak of it. All I knew was that she remembered me in this moment, and one moment is all there ever is. Loved the Black Tongue Thief. Thought it was great. Kinch's story, great. Daughter's War is one of my favorite books of the year. This book did military fantasy as well as Malazan. It was very reminiscent of the Chain of Dogs at times, and Galva is such a powerful character. Brothers Gwyn touted this series a ton, made me check it out. I love the Brothers Gwyn. Phenomenal channel, even though I've not read their Papa's books yet. I'm going to fix that. But yeah, these are exceptional. Galva is such an intriguing character to read about, and I'm excited to get more Kinch, but only if we also get more Galva. I don't need her POV, but I need her in the book. POV, but I need her in the book. All right, number 3, and this one was a doozy. These top 3 are all very close, but number 3, I have to go with the Adan trilogy by Philip Chase. Kingdoms don't endure forever. Our lives are brief, and darkness enfolds them. In the hall's light we gather, and the fire warms us. We sit and listen to the shaper weave tales of our past, bringing to life, if only for a while, those who came before us by reciting their deeds. But outside there waits the vast, cold night. One day, the darkness calls each of us from the hall, and we in truth know not what awaits us. What then are we to do in our brief moment? My friends, you know the answer. I see it written on your brave faces in the light of your eyes. We leave our deeds behind for those who gather after to weave into tales, and they'll remember us as they gather round the fire. Now ask yourselves, what deeds will you leave behind for them to pass on to their children? What will the Shapers sing of you? When your kin remember this day, would you have them say their people stood by and waited for their foes to come conquer them? Anybody who hasn't read the Adan trilogy and you think like, oh, it's because Philip Chase is, one of the bigger, booktube channels. He's got 50,000 subscribers. Congratulations to him, by the way. He very much deserves it. Dr. Chase is one of the most deserving people within our space of that sort of milestone. I will say I entered into this book hoping to love it because I do really admire Dr. Chase a ton. So I went into it hoping to love it. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did, though. I wish I could somehow go back in time and alter it to where I didn't have that expectation and see how I would have enjoyed it without. But I am telling you, it is not because Philip Chase is who he is. It is who the person he is also the person that crafted this story. So it just goes to show the guy that's always, interacting with smaller channels, that is always very friendly and open, also writes a book that is full of empathy, full of a passion for the story. I mean, it's a no-brainer that would happen. But this is an exceptional story, even if you take away he's the guy on BookTube that's got 50,000. No, purely on its own merits, the Adan trilogy, I think, should be in discussion for one of the best fantasy series to come out of the last decade, without a doubt. In fact, when people ask me what are the best series that you've read this year, this is usually the first one that comes to mind. Even though it's my third favorite of the year, this is one of the ones where it's a trilogy, it's easy to get into, and it doesn't take a ton of time commitment, and it's just a really good ride. I do think that these two beat it out in terms of my own personal enjoyment, but I do recommend the Adan trilogy a ton, and it is deserving of all the praise it's gotten. All right, number two, and you probably guess what number 1 is. You probably guess what the top 2 are if you followed my channel at all. But if I had not read who everyone probably knows is number 1 this year, this book would have not easily, but it would have cleared as my favorite series of the year. Sun Eater by Christopher Ruocchio. One has rank because one deserves it. And if one does not deserve it, he will lose his rank or his life. Man, earlier when I was talking about Askara Helsing and I was like, wait, no, she's not my favorite character of the year, it's because that quite handily, in terms of new characters, there's one character in my number 1 series that might have him beat, but in terms of new characters that I've read this year, without a doubt, it is Hadrian Alexander Marlowe. This is one of the greatest voices in sci-fi, one of the greatest characters in sci-fi. all the Dune comparisons that I've heard, I don't even like to bring those comparisons up, but I feel like they're so common. I do think Empire of Silence, kind of, you can draw comparisons, but not the later half of the series. Adrian Marlowe is a much better character than Paul Atreides. He is a much better character than Luke Skywalker. He's a much better character than this and that. Pick whatever sci-fi you want outside of Red Rising, and even Red Rising maybe. Hadrian is a better protagonist than that series. I'd be hard pressed to find a sci-fi series with a protagonist as compelling and as well realized as Hadrian Marlowe. But not just that, the villains, Sirianni Dori Iker, the Scourge of Earth, side characters, Polino, Switch, Valka, Octavia Corvo, they're all excellent, and I feel like Sun Eater's been coming under fire lately, and I have to just be okay with disagreeing. Like, it's okay. I don't even get the argument that, like, oh, his prose weren't as polished when he was younger. Even Empire of Silence, the prose is incredibly polished. It is incredibly top-notch. Quality is such a subjective thing, as much as we want to attach objective truths to it. I have spoken to some peers of mine and some authors, and resoundingly, most of them that have read this book think that his prose, even in the first installment, is exceptional. So that's the one thing I will not abide, is by saying that the prose is lackluster or less polished. I can abide it. I just strongly disagree. All right, and then number one, you know what it is. I read 2 books from this series this year, and I reread the prequel novella a lot. Favorite series of the year, Wars of Light and Shadow. Clears. Arathon. The word brought Asander to sharp attention. Whoever had named this prince had known what they were about, for the Paravian root of meaning was forger, not of metals, but of destiny. Athera could ill afford the consequence if the mistwraith that afflicted the world was ever to yield its hold on sunlight. Light, said Asander, and shadow, granted intact upon conception. That's enough to destroy the mistwraith, but only if the half-brothers work jointly. A bad king revels in his importance. A good one hates his office. He spends himself into infirmity, quashing deadly little plots to make power the tool of the greedy. Clears. Love Sun Eater. Sun Eater is definitely in my top 10 of all time. Definitely, possibly top 5. I made a top 15, and I believe Sun Eater was an honorable mention. And this was like number 7. But even when I put it at number 7, I'm like most likely to change. And I've examined, like, Malazan, one of my favorite series of all time. I've examined some of the scenes in there that I don't think aged well looking back on them, though I still think Steven Erikson is a genius. And Malazan was just such a formative experience for me that I don't think it'll ever be outside my top 3. But I really struggle with what's higher, this, Realm of the Elderlings, or Malazan. I talk about it all the time. This is without a doubt in my top 3, probably in my top 2, and most days out of the week, I'll probably tell you it's my top 1. And that's kind of crazy, considering I've only read 3 books out of 11, and I've read all Realm of the Elderlings. I've read everything in the Malazan world. But, you know, that also means, like, if I read more in the series and certain books don't work for me, it could fall, you know. The thing is, every Wars of Light and Shadow book I've read has been a 5 out of 5. I cannot say that for Malazan. I cannot say that for Realm of the Elderlings. But I've also read way more. You know, I've had 3 books by Janny. They've all been 5 stars. I've had 16 books by Hobb, and like 14 of them have been 5 stars. Or maybe realistic, it's probably more like 13 or 12 even. But, you know, it's in double digits that are 5 stars. Malazan, 10 books in the Books of the Fallen, 8 of those are 5 out of 5. 2 of those are not. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see where this stacks up against those as I read more entries in the series. I don't see this series falling out of top 3. Even if there's multiple books in the series that don't work for me, which I find that hard to believe. I think the book by her that has resonated with me the least, if I had to say the least, it'd be Sorcerer's Legacy, and that was a 4-star read. Master of Whitestorm, 5 stars. Curse of the Mistwraith, 5 stars. Gallant, 5 stars. Ships of Meru are 5 stars, you know? So she's pretty much batting 1,000 for me. And Sorcerer's Legacy was by far like the earliest book in her career. So, and even then, 4 stars for a debut, come on. So yeah, those are my favorite books I've read so far this year, and I'm going to give you 3 series that I plan on starting this year. So I'm going to rank these by the order and how much I think I'll like them. But obviously, like all three, I'm hoping and believing will be 5 stars. Otherwise, they wouldn't be the 3 series I want to start this year. But number 3 is going to be Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. I've heard a ton about it. I think I'll really enjoy Jay Kristoff's writing style and his characterization. I just need a little action-packed trilogy, to spice things up. And then I actually have a buddy read planned for this, so I really hope I like it. I think I will like this probably substantially more than Nevernight, and I'm kind of cheating with this because I listened to the author read the first chapter or so, and it really wowed me. And I'm talking about the Drowned Kingdom saga by P.L. Stewart. Even though I plan on reading this in September with some peers of mine, low-key, every day I think about, like, what if I read it early and told no one? How would they know? I've heard Nikhil over at Shelf Esteem and Philip Chase talk about this a ton recently. Patrick read it not too long ago. It's giving me a lot of Tolkien vibes, and I love Tolkien. But I heard that this guy has left his mark on Rothfuss, Martin, I believe Rockio as well. I'm talking about Tad Williams, The Dragonbone Chair, Book 1 in the Austin Ard Saga. Or I guess Book 1 in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, which is the first series in the Austin Ard Saga. So, yeah, those 3 series, and then these are the 10 that I've loved so far. Peace.